Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk all about my Kundalini awakening story. It's freaking nuts, it's crazy, brace yourselves. I almost didn't even know if I could talk about this in front of a camera, let alone put my real name underneath the video. So yeah, this is been quite the last year and a half. I can say that for sure. I'm making this so that if you're going through something similar, maybe you'll have someone to relate to. If you're in the early stages of it and it's super dark and confusing and you don't know what the hell is going on with you, I'm making this to give you maybe a little bit more peace of mind. I had a very, very dark, extremely dark first 5 months, at least. So it's really hard for me to share what I went through in this way. I've written about it on my blog, where if you like reading about it in more detail, I'll put that link below too. But to actually sit here and talk about it is something I've been wanting to do, but it's been really hard for me. Just because it was so dark and heavy. And I don't want you to listen to this and take fear from my experience. That's not my intention. My intention is to hopefully provide you some context for what you're going through. And hopefully some inspiration so you know it can get better. I mean, I'm still alive. I'm feeling so much better. It's been quite the journey. It's been the most challenging thing I've ever done in my entire life. What happened, what I went through was beyond what I ever imagined could happen in this reality. It's completely transformed me and my perceptions of the world. So I hope that you can get something out of it, and I hope that if you're going through this, that this video, by the end of it, will help you release a lot of the fear or the worry, or the angst, or the hopelessness that you might be suffering from. Because I think in relating to my journey, you can see that, okay, wow, he went through something very similar to what I'm going through, and he seems like he's doing okay. He's good enough to be talking about it. So yeah, that's my intention. So I'll just kind of get right into it. My journey, I officially started going through the Kundalini awakening 16 months ago. That would be December of 2018. Or December of 2017. But I had a lot of events leading up to it, as I'm sure you can relate to. You could start to notice subtle changes. Maybe you could notice this, maybe not, but I definitely did before my spontaneous awakening. I actually had just broken up with my ex-girlfriend. It was 2 years ago, actually, pretty much to this day, strangely enough. And I decided to move to Las Vegas, Nevada, and pursue a career as a professional poker player. And that was crazy. I lived in downtown Las Vegas, right across from Container Park, if you've ever been there. And I would literally just wake up and play poker and gamble all day. And I was on a crazy sleeping schedule. I slept all day and would work all night, and it was kind of everything kind of was unraveling for me. You know, looking back on it, I can see the wheels were really starting to fall off. My lifestyle was really starting to get really unhealthy. Alcohol would affect me really, really bad. I couldn't even drink, actually, because I wouldn't even get the high anymore. I'd just go straight down. Caffeine, I became extremely sensitive to caffeine, to where if I had one shot of espresso, I could just go freaking crazy, and that kind of still holds to this day. So I was getting really sensitive to things. I was just noticing all these I was starting to feel a lot more anxiety and a lot more fear in my body than I ever had before. And I wasn't sure really what was going on. So, that went on for about 6 months, or 5 or 6 months. And then right about, it was like September 1st of that year, I don't know what happened, but let me back up one day. The day before, I took what's called 5-HTP, and that's like a serotonin enhancer. I was just really feeling low, and I didn't know what to do, and I heard that I was reading this health book that said 5-HTP could be really good. 5-HTP could be really good for promoting serotonin, so I took that. And then that day, I had like one of the most ecstatic, high-flying days I had ever had up until that point. I was just walking around downtown Las Vegas with my best friend, just having so much fun, so at ease, so much laughter, just so free of any anxiety or lower vibrations, heavier energy. It was amazing. I attributed it to the 5-HTP at the time, and I was like, oh my gosh, I found the secret to feeling great, right? So that day goes by. The next morning, oh my God, I wake up feeling so fucking bad, like just awful. Like my anxiety returned, but times it seemed like 100. And I just remember feeling so gross, and I also attributed that to the 5-HTP, and it could just be causality, and the 5-HTP might have had nothing to do with the high or the subsequent low, right? But at the time, given what I knew, I just said, it must be this. So I threw the bottle away, and I was driving to the gym to try to go like work it out of me or sweat it out or something, I didn't know what was going on. I just felt so bad. On the way to the gym, I realized I feel so bad right now. I can't even go work out. Like this isn't a reality for me. I have to I didn't know what to do. I was like, maybe at the time, marijuana had just became legal in Las Vegas. So I was like, I'm just gonna go smoke a joint to try to calm my nerves down, right? Because I just needed something. I had to, at this time, I didn't know how to work with emotions, energy, how to heal myself. Like I said, before my awakening, I wasn't the least bit spiritual or religious. In fact, I was an atheist basically my whole life leading up to this. So I didn't know anything about inner work really at all. So I was just like looking to escape it and looking for a quick fix, right? So I go to the weed store. I can barely even, when I'm in the marijuana store, I could barely even communicate with the shop owners, the clerks. I couldn't really speak. Things were getting so strange. So I get the marijuana, I get home, and I start smoking the joint, and I feel a little bit better for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then out of nowhere, boom, energy just starts ripping through me, and just swirling, and just chaos, and so much pressure in my head. It felt like I was gonna I literally felt like I was gonna fucking explode. I didn't know what was going on at all. I somehow got in my car and drove to the emergency room in Las Vegas, and I told them I couldn't think. I could barely even speak by the time I got there. I don't know what was going on with me. I was my heart was just pounding. I was sweating. I was so thirsty. I mean, it was one of the more traumatic experiences of my life, right up there. There's others that followed, but I didn't know what was going on. Finally, I get into the emergency room to see the doctor, and they stick a bunch of needles in me, and then I just kind of collapse, and I'm just like, what the hell was that? They didn't know what had happened. I didn't know what had happened. They said it was a panic attack, and hey, it might have been. I have no idea. Still to this day, I don't really know. This is leading up to my awakening, right? I mean, this might have had something to do with it. It's still something every now and then I wonder about. But at the time, I was completely lost. I had no fucking clue what had just transpired. All I knew is I was leaving the emergency room. I was in tears. I was scared. I was completely in shambles. My body was wrecked. My psychology was wrecked. My brain, I felt like I had destroyed my brain. I got on and researched what side effects could the 5-HTP mixing with marijuana could have had, and I came up with serotonin syndrome. So for like the next few months, I thought I had serotonin syndrome, and who knows, I might have had serotonin syndrome. Who knows? But I just knew something had happened, and it was insane, and then I felt awful. So shortly after this, I tried playing poker, and there's no way I was going to keep up with such an intellectually exhausting game as poker, given what I was going through. It was just not happening for me. I was really starting to get it kind of worse. My anxiety, my psychology, my emotional state was like deteriorating. Literally my life was like falling apart at a rapid. I didn't know what to do. So, or what was going on with me. So I ended up moving home, and I really wanted to move home to try to stabilize. And I came home to a family that had no idea what was going on with me. I, least of all, knew what was going on. I didn't even know how to explain to them what was happening with me. And it just kind of got worse from there. When I got home, instead of getting healing, I actually went into a deeper and a deeper and a deeper and a deeper spiral, and things got darker and darker. My mind completely, it's like my mind, its capabilities diminished by like 80%. Like, I had no energy. I literally could barely get out of bed. I couldn't sleep at night. I was having like a panic attack every other day. I had Klonopin prescribed to me that I would take it in very small doses. I mean, I knew it was a horrible thing to be doing, but I literally was at a complete and utter loss. And everyone was really worried. I was suicidal at this point. I thought my life was over. I thought the incident in Las Vegas had like destroyed my brain chemistry, and that I was beyond healing and nothing could be done for me. And I just was in such a low place, and felt like such a victim, right? I was making all these excuses for my powerlessness. And when we're making excuses for our powerlessness, then there's truly nothing that can be done for us. And yeah, I just basically laid in bed, cried all day, researched the easiest ways to kill myself, and tried to wait it out and just gutted it out day by day. And like my nephew and sister would come over, and my little nephew would knock on the door, and I could hear my sister say, "Uncle Matt's not feeling good, honey. Don't go in there." And I would just be like, "What hell realm did I just slip into?" And I was having trouble eating. I mean, I was on these sites about serotonin syndrome toxicity, constantly researching, trying to figure out what had happened to me. And finally, I was seeing a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and they weren't giving me much the feedback I needed, the healing I needed. And, God bless my parents. They were just so patient with me, and they were just there the whole time, seeing me go through that hell. And there were times I'd walk outside and I'd like try to force myself to go on a walk in the neighborhood. I'd walk outside and things would just start spinning, and I'd start feeling nauseous, and I couldn't even walk outside. I went, like, if this is where you would think you'd want to kill yourself, I feel like I went down here, like, for reals. At one point I remember thinking, I'm so disabled right now that I couldn't even carry out killing myself. And that was a truly haunting thought, because like, when you're so bad that you are slipping to such a level that you couldn't even function enough to kill yourself, I'm just going back to the emotional state I was in, and kind of talking about this after the fact, it's just kind of insane to even think about that's where I was not that long ago, a year and a half ago. So, yeah, that was a really difficult period. And then I started listening to a lot of Eckhart Tolle and trying to become more of a witness, but it just wasn't happening. I just felt like it was a helpless case, and this just went on for a good 3 months. I mean, my sister from Seattle came and visited and saw me in the state I was in. And I think I triggered something in her because she had to kind of leave right away. And I lost everything, I lost my ability to think. I didn't want to do anything. I couldn't do anything. My physical body was deteriorated. So eventually, I guess I got to a point to where things started to stabilize a little bit, and because I started listening to some Eckhart Tolle and trying to meditate more, trying to get present, trying to get into my body, trying to focus away from what was going on. So I kind of fell apart there, just remembering that period of my life. And just even talking about it kind of spiraled me into that place where I just, at a certain point, what can you say, right? So I'm going to leave that as part 1 of my Kundalini awakening story, because it's already getting really long. And in the next part, I'm going to talk about when the Kundalini truly activated in me and when it was undeniable. I mean, like I was talking about, the whole thing that happened in Las Vegas, that whole traumatic experience might have had something to do with it, but I'll never really know. What happened after about 3.5 months of being at home was undeniably Kundalini related. So that's what I'm going to cover in my next video. I just want to kind of give you guys a little introduction and kind of set the scene for what takes place, so you kind of have the whole story. But other than that, I'm going to put my blog below where I have everything out in a lot more detail if you just want to go ahead and read about it. Otherwise, I will get that next video out here shortly. Thanks for watching. I hope that maybe so far you can relate to some things. If you've had some darker times, if you're in a dark time right now, that way hey, other people have been there too. You're not alone. You're never alone. But thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time.